What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever Webba Wednesday here on OG55. Today, we are talking about the Universal Fan Fest and also the Disney After Dark events. But before we do, we have a fantastic panel tonight, all right here. And thank you so much all for watching. Let's go to Cordy, our very, very special guest, Cordy in California. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I am doing great, and I am so happy to be here. I remember the last time I was kind of reminiscing with everyone earlier, like, oh, I remember the first time I was so nervous, and I was like, so it's great to be back.
Awesome. Hell yes.
It's good to have you, Cordy. And you know what? For all our West Coast creators, we have to do a West Coast drop for Cordy. You ready?
Woke up looking for the
There we go. We love our West Coast creators. Thank you for joining us, Cordy.
Love it.
Thank you, George, the Disney Italiano. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. I'm glad you could make it because you weren't actually going to be on today, but you're like, you know what, Webb is here, Cordy's here, OG's here. I'm gonna come for the live. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. I had to make it to the party. It was like, I mean, you know, there's no party without the Disney Italiano. Come on, forget about it.
Well, thank you, George. Now the man, the myth and legend, OG55 himself, sir. Thank you so much for actually for having this the show on OG55, sir.
Yeah, no, thank you, Cordy, again for coming on, and thank you, Webba, for hosting, and thank you, George, for joining us with your new fresh haircut and your 7-day beard. We appreciate you, sir.
It's so impressive. You actually you got the count Don Pat. That's awesome.
We got it down.
Beard is actually number day 7.
Number 7. But yeah, I want to thank everybody in the chat: Roto Kamish, CL, Darth Skellington, Christina Holmes, Abby, GV559, everybody joining us today. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in to OG55.
Thank you so much. So, guys, let's dive right in. Let's talk about Disneyland first, Cordy. So, I remember the last time we spoke. I remember I put it out there. I wasn't that huge of a fan of the events. I love the idea. However, I know that you probably went this year, correct? What was your thoughts this year versus last year and maybe even previous years of these Disney After Dark events?
Well, my experiences this year were different than last year for sure. I was always, on our Park Streamers hangout, I was always going, now, come on, guys, it's great. It's fun. You get to, I'm like, look at all the things that I got to do. And so I was really a proponent of it and thought, hey, it's worth the money, right? Especially, I think I always thought that it was a very, a great event for people who don't have a pass or don't go often, right? Because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get that mix-in time, and then you get low wait times if rides are, what you want to do when you're there. But then you also get the benefit of all of the photo ops and the character meet and greets and things like that, right? So it's like, oh, it's, that's a pretty awesome time at the parks. Mm-hmm. So this year I did not do Sweethearts Night. I did it 2 years ago. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to pass last year, and I passed this year, and I was okay with that. Last year was kind of hard, right? You get a little FOMO. I was like, oh no, I kind of want to see what, if it changes. I did do 90s Night, which was it was fun. It was fun. But I went on Thursday when it rained. So, it does put a little bit of a damper. There were some changes they had to make because of that. I was really looking forward to the Tomorrowland Terrace and seeing Max and Goofy, right, do their whole show, which they still did. It was modified, and it was in a little section on like those kind of those mats, right? Entry mats. They look like for safety, I understood why, but I had hoped, I'm like, get those air blowers out, right? Let's get all the water off the ground and try to make it work. But I had fun with like the music and the theming there. And then I did Star Wars Night.
How was that?
That one, oof, I was I hate to say I was disappointed, but it just wasn't the same. I mean, last year we lost the fireworks. So I'm like, okay, all right, and I think I went 2 times last year. Maybe 3. I'm trying to remember how many times. I know I went 2 times. But I had so much fun last year, and I have so many like pictures with characters. Like I was running into like I went to Galaxy's Edge, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's Chewbacca. I have a great picture with him, and waiting in line to see Jabba the Hutt, and the I'm going to say Harrison Ford, Han Solo, and the Carbonite, right? Like it was all kind of like, okay, you wait in this one line, and you do all these these things. And they even had a character, walking around in the line. This year, it felt a little, and it's funny because you would think Star Wars Night would be pretty much as organized as Oogie Boogie, right? Because they've done it.
Right.
Done it quite a few times. So it felt a little just off. Like I didn't know where to go. I'm like, oh, there's an Ewok background, but there's no Ewoks this year. I didn't realize they were, you had to walk further towards, Pooh's Corner. Jabba the Hutt was like hiding over by the Fantasyland Theater. And I just happened to walk over because you're streaming and you're like, let's check out every corner of the park.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, he's just randomly over here. Okay.
Right here.
well, and that's the thing too, Cordy, where like that's been my biggest complaint with the Disney After Hours stuff, where everything is sort of like kind of hidden in a way. Like when you walk into the park during Christmas, it's Christmas, right? It's everywhere. It hits you, right? But for these After Hours events, I don't get that same vibe. Like I don't get that same like this is a special event vibe. Like we went to FanFest at Universal, and you get that immediately walking into that place. It's crazy, and we'll talk about that today too. But it's like all these things are kind of hidden, right? Like George had a real big kerfluffle, kerfluffle with kerfluffle. I sounded so white right now, like it's not even funny. Kerfluffle. but George had a huge issue with the Darkwing Duck, which was like, right, George? Like we went back in March. I think it was like early March or whatever for 90s night.
Yes.
And you were looking forward to checking out Darkwing, getting a picture. Mm-hmm. The event started at what, like 9:00, I think. And they were like, oh yeah, you had to get in line like 2 hours before. Like we didn't know that, and it's crazy. They should have him just walking around, really.
And it wasn't even just the fact of like getting in line. It was like you had to get a specialty wristband, which they were giving those out 3 hours prior to the event. It like when they opened up the gates at 6. We're just like, okay, we're in, we got our credentials, we got our map, we'll just walk around and chill. We went to Oga's Cantina for a drink, and it was like, okay, didn't really think nothing of it. And I'm like, okay, it's starting to get a little closer. Let's like try to stake out, where to line up for Darkwing. Because that's, if I did nothing else, I would have been fine. I just wanted to meet Darkwing. Mm-hmm. And so we got up to the Fantasyland Theater. And I said, where's the queue to line up for Darkwing? And they said, oh, you needed to be here at 6 p.m. You needed to get a specialty wristband. And I was like, oh, well, can I just get one now? Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're sold out for the rest of the evening. I tell you what. And I said, so you're telling me literally before the event even started, I can't meet Darkwing. I paid a ticket to get in. And you're telling me I can't meet one character. Oh, we're so very sorry. But there's other character meet and greets around the park. I tell you what, Cordy, I was speaking in tongues that night.
Corey, you can tell on George's face. He was mad. He was mad that night. But I don't blame him, though, because the entire system, it was not set up for you to succeed in your night. It was like, how was George supposed to know that? Like, I didn't know that. OG didn't know that. No one in our group knew that. Like, because we're out, we're at Oga's Cantina having a few drinks, right? OG was cracking me up, and then we have to go find Darkwing, and then all of a sudden, sorry, you can't. You had to get like 2 hours before to get a wristband. What? So what do you mean? And said to OG's point, I don't like the whole sticking the character in the corner over here, or like this kind of scavenger hunt thing where you got to.
Oh, but wait a minute.
There's more.
Buckle up, baby. There's more. So Abby and I, we actually went the same night you did. If I would have known, I would have looked out for you. Yeah, so we went on both nights. And I said, okay, now I know the game plan. We're going to get there early. I'm going to make a beeline to the Fantasyland Theater, and I'm going to get in line, get that wristband. I'm going to meet Darkwing. I'm waiting for them to open up the gates, and I get a call from OG. He's like, bro, where are you at? I was like, oh, I'm in line for the event because I want to get in there early. And he said, I hate to break this to you, bro. He said, there's probably no point for you to even get in there early. And I said, why? He said, good friend of ours, Mondo from Five Fires, made a post on social media. They're handing out these little yellow little papers saying that there's a certain number of characters that, due to high demand, you could just do a wave and walk by. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And I said, Darkwing's one of them, isn't it? And he went, yeah. He said Darkwing, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Scrooge McDuck, and Launchpad. And I'm like, literally, I got in line for that purpose. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, for people who are paying these extra prices for these upcharge events, everyone should have the same opportunity to do whatever they want. And there should be no cutoff. If there's a cutoff, then that's telling me you're overselling the tickets.
Yes.
Yes.
100%. And then also, real quick, they seem to be cutting the offerings, right? Like, I remember 90s Night like 5 years ago-ish when they did it the first time. I think it was like pre-Pandy, if I'm not mistaken. They had that really cool Disney afternoon fireworks show. And George was like, oh, I'm going to go to that next time they do it. I'm going to go. That fireworks show was dope. And then they do 90s Night, and then that's the thing they cut. Like, come on, Disney. You should be adding stuff, not subtracting.
And Cordy, you had mentioned that last year for Star Wars Night, they cut the fireworks. Well, and this year, not only didn't they have the fireworks, but they also cut the First Order March.
Yes.
And it's like, now it tells me that if they ended up doing Star Wars Night next year, what are they going to cut from that? It's like every time, it's almost like when Disney does a new event, you have to go that year because that's like the best time that you'll experience everything, because in the years following after, you're getting a light version, so to speak, a very diluted version. And because it always seems like, because Abby and I did Sweethearts Night this year, we did 90s Night, and we did Star Wars Night. And they were really nice. Like, we had a fun time. Like, we made the best of it. But just as the event as a whole, it's almost like it's the same things, but just rethemed to whatever the night is. So it's like cardboard cutouts for Sweethearts Night, cardboard cutouts for 90s Night, cardboard cutouts for Star Wars Night. It's like, come on, I want something new. I want something more. And actually, when you had mentioned about Jabba the Hutt, we didn't know about Jabba either. Actually, a cast member came up to us because I think she knew, like, we were waiting, because we were also waiting for the Ewok, because Abby really wanted to meet it. And I told her, okay, usually, like I said, last year they had it by the bathrooms by where Hungry Bear was. They had the whole queue line. And I'm like, she's looking on the map, and she says, no, it's over by like Tiana's and Winnie the Pooh. I'm like, that's strange. So we get over there, and I asked a cast member, and I said, is this where the Ewoks are going to meet? Oh, at this moment, we really don't know. And I'm like, what? To start the event in 15 minutes, and you don't know if this is where the Ewok is going. So the other cast member must have heard, and she said, before it like gets too crowded, she said there's a little nook tucked over by the Fantasyland Theater, and she said that's where we have Jabba the Hutt. So Abby and I went over there to get our picture with Jabba, but I have like twitches, like PTSD every time I go near that Fantasyland Theater because of dark.
That's funny. Now, a friend of the channel, Mr. Kiki and Luca in the house, he says Star Wars Night didn't sell out. Too many nights, too expensive, or Star Wars not popular. What's your take on that, Cordy?
Oof. I think people will pay, if they know that they're getting something worth paying for. A lot of people felt like they got burned last year, right? There's people that have been going for years. And last year they were, even last year they were saying, I'm not going to do it. right? They're cutting fireworks. So that was kind of that, like, I don't know what else is going on there, but they cut fireworks, so I'm out. And then this year it just added to that, right? Like people are like, if we're still not getting fireworks and it's going to be the same thing as last year, never mind, right? I mean, it's $159 to $179, right, a night.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Go ahead, Webba.
So Cordy, I have a question for you. So in the Disney park, theme park vlogger space, right? Because you're at the parks all the time. It's great watching your lives and everybody, in your community, super awesome. All the dreamers out there. And so I want to ask you, what have you noticed from the vloggers in terms of going to these after dark events? Like at least in terms of Disney, are they still going to each one, or have they kind of dropped off, as you were kind of mentioning earlier?
Yeah, I think I see less coverage on it personally. I think they go. I don't even know. I feel like there was a lot less coverage on it as far as like the bigger, the big channels, the big vlog channels. Because it was like, well, I'm going to go there and report on the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think they realized that too. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll do something else instead, right? I'll save it up for this, and we had all these other epic universes, everything else was going on at the same time. Yeah, I definitely saw less. And actually with live streaming, there were some that I noticed that went, multiple nights that maybe did 2 this year, right? Like instead of, and they didn't sell out. That's weird, right? Star Wars night didn't sell out.
Well, it's crazy, Cordy, because Star Wars, there's so much potential there. Like if you go on YouTube, you will find countless videos of like DJs like mixing like the like Duel of the Fates and stuff. Like you could have a lot of fun with Star Wars night. You could have like a DJ set up on the train station doing like down, and like have a big dance party, have it really fun, like have it a really fun Star Wars night, But they just seem to they don't put the full effort in, right? And that was one of the things when I went to FanFest at Universal, it was like, I felt like Universal was like so hungry for it. Like they were just hungry. And you walk in to have all the One Piece stuff, which is crazy to me, the One Piece stuff. Because I did not know that the anime thing, like I knew anime was big, but I didn't know it was that big. One Piece was completely outpacing all the other IPs at Universal. I mean, it's huge, right? But it just feels like this celebration of nerd culture at Universal, and it's like a big party. And when you go to a lot of these Disney After Hours events, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like almost like a chore because I'm going to have to wait in this line and get the wristband for this thing and that thing. It's like, I don't know. It's like,
well, COG, to your point though, it's like that if I go to one of these events, right? So Cordy, me, OG, George, his fiance Abby, Mrs. Webba, and Mindy and her husband, we all went to 90s, thanks to George and his fiance Abby, and we had a great time there, right? But the event, I always say this, like at least for me, I always felt like from these Disney After Dark events, there's some type of substance missing from these. I don't know what it is, but like for 90s night, for example. You could have brought back Honey, I Shrunk the Audience into the little theater.
Yes.
Like that would have been dope, or to George, this was his idea. You could have brought back the original 1992 Fantasmic back. That would have been, and then also, sorry, I'm kind of going on a rant here, but what's with these little cavalcades? Give us an actual proper parade. For Oogie Boogie, we get a proper parade. Yes. Give us a proper parade. What's with these little cavalcades? And the music didn't even the music and the IP just wasn't fitting the 90s. The feeling wasn't there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Ebba, because specifically for 90s night, the way that they said it in the description, I thought we were going to get parade pieces actually from the actual parade, from the Lion King, from Mulan, from Hercules. It's maybe they brought something out from the archives. They have a float that they used back in the 90s, but no, it was just having the characters represented. Well, it's okay, well, they're in a cavalcade or a parade every day. What makes this special that's going to make it they used I think music from, it was either Tokyo Disneyland or Disneyland Paris. It was from the soundtrack to their anniversary, and I'm like, what does that have to do with 90s night? Like,
and here's the thing, and we talked about a lot on the channel, where it's like Universal seems to like have a little bit more fun or a little bit more of an edge to what they do, right? Like, for example, at FanFest, they had the Jujutsu Kaisen thing in the Kung Fu Panda Theater. And I thought it was really, really cool how it was like all in Japanese, with the subtitles, right? And I'm like, that's something that I don't think Disney would really do. Like, they don't have the guts to really do that, to have an all Japanese show at the American parks. Mm-hmm. One thing that I was suggesting to these guys in a video a little while back was for like 90s night, they could have had like Michael Eisner's famous line, hello, I'm Michael Eisner, head of the Walt Disney Company. Projection map him on the castle and have just like 10 minutes of that, just every time he did it. It would be so amazing. But that's kind of like this weird kind of nerdy, like fanboy thing, which the normies probably wouldn't like that. But like when you go to after hours events, I expect it to be like a notch nerdier. Like, these are the diehard fans, right? And they would get a kick out of that, but they don't really do that. But Universal kind of steps outside their box a little bit, and they do that kind of fun, quirky stuff. Another example is the Simpsons ride over in the Simpsons land or whatever. And they projected the Back to the Future, the ride logo on that building, and like, that's kind of fun, paying tribute to the former attraction and stuff. So yeah, I just thought it was fantastic. So I wish Disney would kind of do a little bit of that too. Have a little fun with it. Don't be so corporate with these events. They feel a little corporate,
Yeah, it's very safe. Yeah, they play it really safe. And but I think I'm hoping, although I've heard from somebody, well, actually from Barry Place, from someone he talked to, right? Some source, he was trying to explain how kind of where they fell short with Star Wars Night. And then that person was saying, well, we're trying to find our sweet spot. How many nights should we have? And it's like, no, that's not the point. It doesn't matter how many nights you have. The formula is wrong.
Yes,
exactly, Cordy. Exactly. Now, speaking of the formula, though, Cordy, I want to ask you, and then we'll go to George and OG, and everybody in the chat. Put down what you think. What would you like to see Disney put into their events? Right, whether it's Star Wars, the Pride, the '90s, Sweethearts. What kind of activities would you like to see in these After Dark events?
What say you, Cordy? What would you like to see in some of these events? Like, how could they improve this stuff?
I think, and I was thinking back to last year, because I had fun actually at Disney Channel night. I did have fun at that. And I usually do. I like to do the first night because I want to see what's going on, right? I want to know it right away, and then also share with everybody so when they go, they know what where to look for things and kind of all the tips and tricks. I think it kind of what we've been talking about is they need to take more risks. It's like, I mean, the DJ's awesome, right? At Star Wars Night, right there, it's great. But why are we playing? Why is it that music? You know what I mean? Like it should be Star Wars themed.
Yes.
Yeah, like those kinds of things. Like, just do it. You got to go. They need to go all in. And also, like you guys mentioned, you can't take things away. We should be adding to it. And the characters need to be walking around more. Galaxy's Edge should be like, we should be flocking there.
Yes.
Oh my God. Sorry. I'm so sorry to cut you off, Cordy, but oh my God, Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, I love Star Wars. I do. But this whole thing really makes me mad. Because seriously, like you have Galaxy's Edge, right, which is tied to a timeline. They're kind of breaking away from that. But then you have Star Wars Night, right? And then you have May the 4th. And then you have Star Tours, which OG hates being over in Tomorrowland, right?
So, I have OCD that really bothers me. That it's not in the Star Wars land, Come on.
It's just so annoying. It's like everything that we see in Star Wars Night, I get it. It's a cool way to celebrate Star Wars. But a lot of that stuff, honestly, should be in a Star Wars land or area. Like I want to see the Ewoks there, or Clone Troopers or something, the Emperor, right? But then they put all that behind a paywall. So now you got to go out and fork out $150, while at the same time they're taking away previous product that used to be there, and that's not cool. It's just, yeah.
I will say for Season of the Force, I feel like that they hit a little bit of a home run with that, just because I went for the opening day of Season of the Force, and they had like characters like everywhere. Like literally, you could see Luke and R2D2. You could see Chewbacca and Rey. They had them all out, and then they have the Skywalker saga for the night show. You know, so I think honestly, Season of the Force was a little bit more better than Star Wars Night, to be honest. But I take that as a good thing, because that was something that you didn't have to pay extra for. And maybe that's why, compared to Season of the Force, maybe that's why Star Wars Night was a little bit lackluster, you know, just because, but in a way that's kind of a good thing, because we all were saying that, you know, why can't we have a lot of these things, you know, just within Galaxy's Edge?
Yeah.
You know, why does it have to be under a paywall? So,
and to CL's point right here, Christina, 100% bring back Captain EO. Bring it back. Bring it back. But here's the thing, right? Captain EO has always felt, I know technically it isn't Star Wars, but it has that Star Wars-y vibe. And actually, I didn't watch Skeleton Crew, but I heard that the little furball from Captain EO is right. So technically it kind of is Star Wars now. So yeah, bring Captain EO back. That was a fantastic show. Why not? You know?
I know people ask for these things. That's why I'm like, can they just not do these things, or are they not listening? Because I hear that all the time. You know, Captain EO was, oh my gosh, can you imagine? That would be, people would pay for that event.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Captain EO.
100%.
100%. So yeah, it's just like these After Dark events, because I've been to Star Wars Night when it first came out. So I was fortunate enough to experience the fireworks, the Stormtrooper March. That was really cool, right? Sweethearts Night. We had Sweethearts Night fireworks, so that was really cool. But then here's the thing, though, Cordy. I was expecting, because I was really hyped with George and OG to go to 90s Night, because I was like, I'm a 90s baby. 90s was the shit. 90s was for me the best decade. Yeah, great movies, great TV, great video games. Awesome, right? So I was like, man, 90s Night's gonna be lit. Get there, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like 90s. Like, where's the 90s feeling in this? Like, I'm having fun with the boys and the crew. But I'm like, where's the 90s feeling? And it wasn't there. So I'm really disappointed in that. But let's actually pivot, guys. Let's go to Universal, because all three of you got to go to Universal FanFest. Now, I haven't gone yet, but I will be going to FanFest this Friday, because it's the only time I could go. But I'm really curious about your guys' thoughts and about FanFest at Universal compared to Disney After Dark. So, Cordy, how many times have you gone now? Once, twice?
I was going to say, so we've got like 2 hours to talk about.
Let's do it.
Hold away, 2 hours.
I've gone once. I didn't get to go last weekend, so I have the pass. And I said I was going to go every week, but I didn't get to go last weekend. So I'll be going Saturday for my second time. But and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go back.
Okay.
Like, I just see in there. What's interesting is, they had DJs and they had music, but it was themed, right? They had that band on the stage that was, what was it called? It was like a Back to the Future type of nod to Back to the Future, the name of the band. All 80s music, and they were awesome. And they had I think they had like a stuffed dog, the Einstein was on the stage and everything. And then, but yeah, when you first walk in, like you were saying, OG, it's like the excitement, and it was just like that party atmosphere. Like you're like, okay, let's go, right? You couldn't wait to like get in and like see what was in there. And I think they did a really good job of. We went straight to the Back to the Future, because we were like, oh, it's going to get crazy, so let's just go there, right? But when we came back up, I noticed like there were a few different types of interactions you could have with One Piece, because they had them in one area where you could do like a photo op, right? They were just standing as a group, and they looked amazing. They were just like
so
wow.
Good.
But then they also had them. I missed that part where when they're coming out, right? And they're so in character, and you just get to see them, right? So you could film them, take pictures. Probably, I'm sure they were taking selfies, but just that like mix, right? It wasn't just like, okay, we'll be out here for 15 minutes and then they're going to leave and then they'll come back. It was this nice mix of like interactions and meeting with them. And then don't even get me started with Back to the Future. Like that was just like the back and forth. I was saying like, cause Slim Devin, he was there, and Brian Sevilla was there, and he ended up getting in detention because we're like, okay, we're gonna like this whole like conversation was going on, and he wrote out the detention, right, and gives it to him. It was just like so immersive. And then I got a love note from George McFly to give to Lorraine, right? Because there's that whole thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't, look at me. And, we're like, no, you can do it. She'll go with you. It just like, there's so many things. It's hard to even like talk about everything. It was just so much. And you could do the circuit, right? If you wanted to like, okay, now I can go over here. You started to get to know like, okay, now they're going to be on, we're going to have the band's going to be playing. We're going to see Marty, shredding on the guitar there. So you could time it. I do think if it's something important to you, you do spend a lot of time there, right? Like just make sure you go around and see everything, the projection, the DeLorean, right? The fire.
Yes.
The license plate, and man.
It was amazing. And the thing that was really cool and impressive about the FanFest nights was that Universal took like from all the years of doing this, whether it be the studio or the theme park side, they took all these things and sort of incorporated it into this event, right? Mm-hmm. So they utilized what they learned from HHN with those mazes.
Yes.
With Dungeons and Dragons and Star Trek, which was super dope. Like those felt like the Star Trek thing felt like a permanent attraction, like a queue for like Space Mountain or something. It was wild to me. But they took the HHN stuff, they learned from it. Okay, we can utilize that for FanFest now. Then they took their studio backlot stuff, right, with their VIP tours and things like that, and they made it an experience for FanFest. Now you take the tram down to the Hill Valley and you experience Hill Valley. So it was all these elements that Universal has kind of done through the years, but it kind of incorporated into this one event, and it was just magic. It was like a love letter to like nerd culture in like the biggest way. I absolutely loved it. What say you, George? You went twice too. What say you, brother?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I absolutely. Now, when it comes to FanFest, that was what you call an after hours event. And this is going to be the very telling thing for Universal, because again, it's always one thing to do it the first time, but can they withhold that moving forward? And I'm still like kind of questioning it until I see it for myself. But the fact that when I got the survey after doing FanFest, how in depth of like that they were asking questions, like for the Back to the Future, like was that like, well, first it asked like, what was your top thing that drew you to FanFest? Obviously I said Back to the Future. That was like phenomenal. The fact that not only did they replicate the film well, but the fact that they held it right where they filmed the movie for back in 1985, like that alone was worth the ticket all in itself. But Back to the Future was my main reason why I was going to FanFest. So it was asking like, oh, how was the audio, and how was the visuals, and how was this and how was that? And I didn't really think to even put it on there, but my only downfall for Back to the Future, very small, was I just wish that they mic'd the performers, because depending on where you were standing, you couldn't hear what they were saying. So that would be the only thing that I would have suggested. But the fact that they're wanting, our critiques, our opinion, what would we want to see for the next FanFest? And I thought it was kind of funny that I contacted OG and I said, well, it looks like they're going to do FanFest again. And he went, oh, really? Why? And I said, well, one of the questions says, what would you like to see at the next FanFest? So,
exactly.
The fact that they're incorporating like all these different IPs and everything, I can't imagine that if this is how the first one is, I can't wait to see what's going to come in the future, because I'm not even a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan. You know, I know of it, but the fact of how they had that walkthrough with that giant puppet kind of mutant alien kind of thing, and the fact that they had the real life set pieces for Star Trek and everything, the vibe there was what I'm begging Disney to do for the after hour events. And that's what's so frustrating, because I want Disney to do it. They're capable of doing it. They're just choosing not to. And that's the frustrating part.
Well, and it was such a good value too, because we went through Theme Park Wizard for our tickets, and it was like $170 for the event. And yeah, big shout out to Mr. Theme Park Wizard. But it was $170 for the event and the Express Pass. And it's like, it was, and not only that, Universal gave you 7 hours. So if you have Express, you can do everything like 3 times. It was so perfect. But even without Express, you can probably get through it, you know? So it was fantastic. Go ahead, Webba.
Well, I wanted to say too, again, I haven't been yet, but I actually did go with OG and George and his fiance Abby last year to Halloween Horror Nights, and that was my first time going to Halloween Horror Nights. And I gotta tell you this, it was a lot of fun. Now, granted, we did have Express, so that experience will alter how you perceive the event, right? Although the mazes and everything you went through, again, for something that is temporary, they really go all out in the temporary facade and structure and the show, right? So for FanFest, that sounds like that they're doing the same thing. And I love that, because when you look at the Disney After Dark events, like what George was saying, they have like these cardboard cutouts that look super cheap. I'm like, what is this? Like you guys have money, like spend this. Come on, like let's get something cool in here. You know, and Universal is just like, yeah, I'm gonna do the whole thing just for like 4 weeks. You know, it's just like it's awesome, really cool to see. But I want to ask you guys though, Cordy, when you heard of FanFest being announced, right? What was your thought? Were you like, oh, here's another After Dark event for a theme park, I don't know if I'm going to like it? Or do you even like anime, or like the kind of like more nerdy anime stuff or things like that? Or what was your thought process going into FanFest?
I didn't know what was going to happen with the tickets and everything. So I was like, and I wanted the first night. So I was online ready to buy the ticket right away. And Back to the Future was the main draw. Like when I saw that was announced, I was like, okay, I'm in. That's all I needed to hear. And then everything else, you know, I would be able to check out. Like, you know, with D&D, what a great, I don't want to say maze, but a great experience, right? That they had for that. And it's like, I didn't even have to know about it, right? It was all on its own. I didn't need to have any backstory, just go in and enjoy. And then Star Trek 2, right? You're like, oh wow, this is like I want to go back in there, because I'm like, okay, I need to see it again. You're right. The first time you go through, you're like, okay, trying to look at everything. And then I didn't get to see the Jujutsu Kaisen show, and I didn't get to spend a lot of time with One Piece. Now, I haven't really watched the anime, but I've watched the Netflix series, right? The live action of One Piece, which we love. It's been watched many times in this house. So I was excited for that, because I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I want to see how they put this together. What are the characters going to be like? It was funny because I almost didn't go to Star Wars night, because I'm like, well, I could put that money towards FanFest. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, Star Wars always sells out, so I better just get it. And then I think I found out, like, oh, they announced the day or something, right, that the sale tickets were on. I'm like, dang it. But I was sold from the beginning. I'm like, no, and I want to pass. It's a drive for me, so I don't get to go to Universal very often. Yes. But I was like, no, because I want to make sure that, you know, I can go more than once to check it out. But so I was so excited for it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Cordy, sorry, OG. I'm the same way. I'm an hour and a half south of Universal, so it's really hard for me to get up there. Where you got OG 55 over here, you know, he's just like jump, skip, and a hop there. He's like, boom, I'm here, you know. I'm
in like the valley, so I'm only like maybe 15 minutes ish.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
so we're like looking over there, over in your neighborhood when we're
yeah, like from the tram tour, you could probably see my house, you know. But I pull out of my.
Let's take that back. From the tram tour, you could see your hair.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I pull out of my driveway like,
hey Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
There you go. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, no, I'm close. So I love Universal. I've been going a lot lately, actually, and having a great time. They've been doing a lot of great stuff over there. I'm in my Universal era right now, so.
I love it. And you know what, Roto Commish, you're right. Sorry, guys. I saw that and I was like, that we didn't see them to the end of the night. And can I just say they were still taking pictures.
Really?
People, like after 1 o'clock. After 1 o'clock in the morning, they were still out there, you know, going and
both nights we only saw Galinda. But I have to say they were spot on with the casting, because it's one thing that they could have just got somebody for Glinda, but they got someone that resembled Ariana Grande looking like Glinda. That was the most. I didn't get to see
Elphaba.
Yeah, Elphaba, but I didn't get to see her. Only Glinda was out at the time when we were passing.
Okay,
dude. You know what'd be dope? Okay, so Cordy, I know you watched Wicked, right? I know George did too. Okay, Wicked. Okay, I'll tell you this, Cordy, right now. This will tie into Universal, but I went and saw Wicked. I didn't think I would really like it that much. You know, it's like the Wizard of Oz like kind of story, right? And I was like, it's all right.
Webba's not a musical guy.
No, I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm not a musical person at all. But I'll tell you what, though, after getting out of that movie, this is going to sound weird. I legit felt like I just had an experience. I was like, wow, that movie, it was powerful. It was a very powerful movie. I love the visuals. It was very fantastical. And I was telling the boys, I was like, I would really love to see Wicked, the world of Wicked brought to life in a Universal park. Now, with having some of the characters out at FanFest, that would be dope if they actually brought like a whole maze or even a land to the park. I think that'd be really cool. So maybe in the future they might go all out more and have just more than the characters and have like Emerald City or something like that. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. No, I think I agree that they went all in, but they were also testing the waters, I think.
Yeah.
Right. To see okay, what's a hit, what's a miss? And now I just remember, because I was trying to remember what I was thinking about the Waterworld show, because obviously that was closed, right? They didn't have anything going on there. Like HHN, we have the Purge goes on over in that area. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking of let's see what feedback they get on like One Piece, because basically they're pirates. Like you could do.
Yeah, no, you could. Yeah.
Go in the Waterworld, theater, I guess it would be. But those are the things I was thinking of, like, okay, so they had nothing going on in there, so they left room for that, right? Mm-hmm. For next year. If this does really well, then they can, say, okay, we can spend the money to turn that on. Yeah.
Well, and that's perfect, Cordy. That's a brilliant idea, because One Piece was enormously popular, probably the most popular out of all the franchises. I think we kept seeing all the Straw Hats and all the girls like Nami and stuff. It was great, fantastic. But to have them in the Waterworld stage doing a thing would be amazing, and that would be so big, big. That would be really cool.
It would be. However, I'll tell you this right now. We watched the Purge show. Cordy, I'm not sure if you liked the Purge show. I found it to be weaker than the main Waterworld show. What do you think? I know we're talking about FanFest, but we are talking about After Dark events. So for a horror night, how do you feel about the Purge water show, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I mean I don't know if I'd have to watch it every night that I went to HHN, you know what I mean? Like I was like, okay, like that's cool. And man, I got to give it up to like the stunt performers, and it's amazing what they do. But I hear what you're saying, right? Waterworld there's a little, it's different. There seems to be more to it.
Yes. Yeah. I felt like that with the Purge, there was just a lot of I feel like there was too much slow time, whereas Waterworld is very you have like a little bit of like the story and then action, story and action, right?
Mhm.
So there was like just a bunch of weird lasers. It was kind of like almost being at a rave almost in this first scene. Oh, gee, there's these lasers everywhere. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really. It didn't really work for me. One of the things I love about Universal in general is they are like the king of like getting you hyped up, right? Yes. And like they thrive at that. Like even when you walk up to like the main gate, like the security thing, they're blasting the Back to the Future song, and they're just getting you energized. And everything's loud and really fun. And Waterworld is like that. Like you go in there and they just know how to hype you up like from the get, you know? The Purge, it just didn't really do that, right? So
it didn't really give off like the horror factor.
No, it didn't.
Like for me, like if you're gonna do like something like for HHN for a show, like I want to see like arms and legs flying everywhere, like chummed up pieces of body like just floating in the water. Like give me something gory, like give me something like that. Like to me, like that is like the edge that Universal can give, you know, over Disney, because obviously Disney can't do that.
Well,
See, but Universal can, but I don't know why they didn't utilize that.
Well, George, I thought that's what you wanted for your Villains Land, was just body parts everywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically that's what I want for everything. Like, I'm sorry, like when you enter in a land, if they have you sign a waiver, like then that to me is like that's a banger of a land, you know.
Yeah, well, Universal, yeah, they do it. I mean, in Jurassic World, you see all the splatters on the wall, and then even like, you know, the scuba diver for Jaws. So that's what I like about it's very different than Disney. So it gives you that like alternative counter programming kind of thing, you know.
Speaking of Jaws, that was one of my choices that I picked on the survey, because to take us back into the tram tour, to take us over to Amity Island, and you have Quint and Hooper and Sheriff Brody, like, and they're reenacting scenes, and then when the shark's about to pop up, you don't know, and you get that dun 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 dun, where he's gonna pop up from. Like, oh man, that would be so awesome.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential with next year. George, you had a great idea for the Back to the Future thing. If you want to like let everybody know what your idea was, because I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Yes. So after experiencing Back to the Future, I thought, and you actually, OG, you were the one that asked me, and you said, do you think that they'd bring this back? And I said, for how popular it is, I could definitely see them doing so. But again, you don't want to get too repetitive where it gets tiresome. And I think that's Disney's weak point, where they keep on bringing the same thing back, but rather than change things up for the better, they're changing it and they're diluting it. I don't, you know, I would prefer, you know, to move forward. So I thought, well, how can they do this but still keep it fresh? And I thought, what if they brought Back to the Future back, no pun intended, but give us the 2015 version of Hill Valley from Back to the Future Part 2. So you have hoverboards, you can have the cheesy, corny 3D shark that's popping out of the theater. You can see like the sports almanac with the old Biff, you know, and everything. And then maybe even eventually, you know, have the Old West from Part 3. They could bring in like real life horses, and they could, again, still do what they are doing with Back to the Future, where they have like the moments of like from the movies, but just utilized for Part 2 and Part 3.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Even though Part 3 wasn't necessarily shot on the Universal lot, but they can still utilize that property because it is a Universal IP.
Well, and that's the thing. I kind of fell out of love with Universal when they went through their Minions era, where it was like everything was just Minions. And Minions are great for the kiddos, so there's a place for them, right? But I just love the old school Universal stuff, like the Back to the Future, the ETs, all that, you know? And I feel like, and the monsters too, right? And I feel like Universal is finally kind of getting back into that stuff again. And I love that they're doing that. And that's a big part of why I've been going so much lately too. It's like, I feel like we're back, baby. Like Universal is back, you know? We're doing like all these cool IPs again, and I'm having a great time with it, you know? So.
Well, here's nothing to speak of characters and Minions, right? And you just made me think of this, OG, is that with the characters, right? So Cordy, at these After Dark events, you know, a big part of this is like the character meet and greets, right? How we talked about earlier, they're all tucked in the corner. You can't even find them. Where are you, right? You know, and whereas Universal, what I like, it seems like that while they do have some characters that are very much, you know, like the Minions, they are like a costume character. a lot of the characters, it seems like Universal tries to have as many face characters as possible for that more in-depth interaction. And that's kind of hard to do that. And like what you were talking about is like, when you have something that looks like a Hades or Jafar. I know Hades and Oogie Boogie, he was more of a face character for sure, so that's better. But when you have Jafar, he has that weird cartoon-looking costume face. Like, that doesn't work if you're gonna have like a Villain's Land or like a Oogie Boogie thing where you want that interaction for an After Dark event. That's what I love seeing though in videos from FanFest was the character interactions, because they can talk to you, right, and actually interact instead of just being, So so I thought that was really good. But George, so Cordy, George, we all know, everybody knows, right? Die Hard, George.
Yes.
What was your expectation going to FanFest, right? And how do you think of the Disney After Dark events now? Because I know you really like them, and I know you love Disney, but seeing how Universal stepping up their game with these FanFest, dude, like how you as a diehard feeling about that?
Yeah. So and actually, GV559 said it best. You guys are more hyped talking about FanFest as opposed to Disney After Hours. That says something. It really does, because yes, I my passion is Disney. Disney comes first. I have a Disney bias, and that's what's so frustrating is, again, I know Disney's potential. I know what they're capable of doing, but the fact that they're not choosing to do it, that's what's so irritating.
Well, and George, I just got notification that Bob and Dana Walden removed you from the group text. Sorry about that.
I guess our tea time in Malibu is off, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. No, sorry. Go ahead, brother.
So anyway, but my expectation for FanFest was kind of like in the middle. Like, I was optimistic, especially with Back to the Future, and I thought, okay, we'll see how this goes, because I was already kind of like getting out of the after hours events after the disappointment from the Disney After Hours events. But I thought, okay, let's just give it a try. Let's see how it goes. But Universal blew my expectations away with this After Hours event, and I can't wait to actually see what they have in store more. I hope Disney adapts that back, because again, they had it. It's there. They just have to use it. But as of right now, after doing 3 back-to-back Disney After Hours events with Sweethearts Night, 90s Night, and Star Wars Night, I really don't have an urge to go back unless I see significant change. Or if Disney happens to do a brand new After Hours, because again, they always seem like they go like full force with something new. But if they're returning something back, chances are we're probably going to lose something else. Because as I said earlier, well, Cordy said, we lost the fireworks last year, and now this year, no fireworks and First Order March. So like, what's next? Next year, they're going to make the Ewoks go extinct? Like,
they better not. that's like
we only got one Ewok this year.
What?
Yes, thank you. Yes,
one Ewok.
One Ewok. Before they had 2. That's right. So
wow.
See, they already made one go extinct.
They did. Now, Chris Lucas, this isn't like After Hours, but I want to kind of touch upon this for a second. He says here, it's kind of sad, though, that they're replacing animal actors in special effects show, which is classic Universal, with a Magic Mountain style high-speed coaster. Now, here's the thing, Chris. I would agree with you. I'm not a big coaster guy, and I'm not like big on that kind of coaster. But in this case, though, I actually think this is a pretty good fit for Universal. I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, the franchise they chose, which is Fast and Furious, is an LA kind of base franchise. So to have that coaster on that hill, kind of looking over the San Fernando Valley and stuff, I think kind of adds to the theme a little bit. It kind of feels right. So it's case by case, right? Like, so in this case, I think it really kind of works, but, and I think Universal has always been, overlooked by coaster enthusiasts. People who are into coasters don't really consider Universal like a serious park. Now they will, because that Fast and Furious coaster is going to be absolutely insane. Now, I'm not going to go on it. I'll be with Mr. Webba in the gift shop waiting for George. But it does look like a pretty cool addition.
I think it's so funny. Like 95% of our crew is not going on that coaster. It's like, it's basically, when it comes down to it, it's me, Slimer, and Conductor, I think, are only the three that are willing to go on it.
Yeah. What about you, Cordy? Are you gonna ride that when it opens, or is that a little too crazy for you too?
I'll watch. I'll get some popcorn and sit on a bench and watch.
Yes. Us three watching George just have fun. You know.
I don't know if anyone in the chat, or if any of you guys have seen Mondo from Five Fires post that it looked like that there was a ride vehicle.
I saw that. Yeah.
Track, and it was covered.
Ooh.
It looks like a car.
It does. It's huge.
Oh
I was
my
like,
gosh.
that's massive. I was like, what? Like, how is that gonna turn in whatever? Like, that's insane. You know, but maybe it might have like. Oh God, OG, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
I'm thinking. Do you think maybe it might be like a car with like 3 seats, so like 2 rows, probably 6-person capacity or something? Because I mean, it shouldn't be too big, right? But damn, yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. We went on Cosmic Rewind like 2 years ago, and that one does the whole turn thing while you go through. It just doesn't agree with me. I felt like the blood was draining from my brain. It was an uncomfortable feeling. Yeah, it didn't feel great. But yeah, George, have fun.
Honestly, because I live for that kind of stuff. Because as I said, I love roller coasters. I am a thrill junkie. So I actually can't wait, because this is like the first time of a ride that you could visually see like being built from literally the ground up. So the fact whenever I do end up on it, the fact of like watching this thing get built, and now I'm actually on riding it, that's just a thrill in itself. I mean, me personally, I would love, like, if they wanted to add an extra thrill, like have the harness actually like pop up where we're like on a death grip.
Oh my God.
And we're like holding on just like Vin Diesel, like holding on to the helicopter.
That was the funniest thing. The first time we took Ebba on the tram tour, and you experienced that supercharged for the first time, Ebba, with us, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
I was sitting next to this guy, and Vin Diesel's on that helicopter, and he turns to me, he just starts cracking up.
Cordy, it looks so ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that in my life. He's like, we're on a tram going like 80 miles an hour on this freeway, right? There's like guns. It's cool action, but all of a sudden, like, you see Dom just like, hey guys, he's like, his body goes in proportion to the helicopter. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It was great. It was
great.
That
ride, that little, well, not ride, but little segment of the tour or whatever was so bad it was like memeable. It was kind of like the Superstar limo kind of thing, you know? It was just
what
horrible.
I would really like to know is, like, who greenlit that thing? Like, they're all sitting like in a big corporate office, and like, who really said that this was a good idea? To put it in the tram tour and also bring it to Universal Orlando. And the fact that Universal Orlando still has it is it's like beyond me. And even Universal team members, and like, they know it's garbage. Like, they'll just come right out and say it. Like, what's your worst what's the worst ride that is here? But don't say Supercharged. We already know that's it. Other than Supercharged, what's your least favorite ride?
Yeah. You said greenlit a Fast and Furious attraction. Was that like a car joke, George? No, just kidding. That's funny. Now, Chris Lucas is saying that the cars that Mondo is showing are 100% Q props. So that's interesting.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, because there's no way those cars can fit on that track at all. In terms of
not to mention, like, for what it's going to make you do on the track, Right.
No,
it's going to put us on ice skates. Like,
absolutely. Now, Cordy, I was going to ask you, what did you think about, like, did you try some of the food offerings over at FanFest?
Well, that was the only part that I would have to mark down.
Really?
Points on it for. And I don't know, maybe because it was the first night, and it was hectic because everybody's trying to get that cookie, right? With the flames. And so we had decided early in the night, okay, we're going to go to Mel's, right? We're going to go there and we're going to try the stuff there. and I wanted to get the shake because I'm like, of course, right? Your Instagram, all your content.
Yeah.
Your shake. And then someone else is going to get the cookie. So we were like, as a group, okay, let's, find the stuff we want to get pictures of. And I think poor Devin waited in the line. It had to be 45 minutes.
Wow.
Like we ordered, and then you stand at the and there was so many people just waiting. There were people with mobile orders. There were people who ordered at the, in the restaurant. So that was a bummer. So, our other friends, CL and Katie, they had I think it was Doc's chicken pot pie. There was the pot pie one that they said it was good, but they were done. They ate everything, and it got to the point because I think we wanted the patty melt, but they were out. I guess I don't know what they were out of. They're like, sorry, we don't have any more of those. So I got the pastrami sandwich. So we got that, and you got your fries with that. What else did we get? Oh, and then the shake. So we could see them like, when they start like running it and it's not working right. You're like, oh, I don't think these shakes are gonna happen.
Oh no.
We waited about 15 minutes for that, and then I said, can I just get something else, like just something, I don't want the shake anymore. And she's like, sure, I can give you a cookie. And I said, well, I would like $12 worth of food to replace the shake.
There we go.
So we got like chili cheese fries, right? I'm like, can I get chili cheese fries? Just something like so we can, go. Yeah. Those were delicious, by the way.
Okay.
So that was the only thing that I had to knock points off for it in that particular location and at that time of the night. But I guess the cookie sold out early.
Well, I'll let you know because Abby and I will be going back one more time on the 15th, okay. And we're literally going specifically to try some of the food offerings. So we'll see, since it'll be kind of getting to the end of FanFest, let's see if we kind of like worked out the kinks and everything. Because with my YouTube channel, we do food reviews and we rate them yuck and yum. So yeah,
there we go. Well, speaking of yum, I had like the most dude dinner ever over at FanFest. I had the it was like the Fritos chili thing, the walk-in eat thing.
Those looked good.
Yeah, with the Modelo tall boy. So, I mean, I was doing it, but it was amazing. It was so good. I mean, ask these guys. I haven't been able to stop thinking about the stupid Frito thing. I love that. I mean, it was so good. George, you had it. I mean,
yes,
5 yums? 5 yums?
That was 5 yums. Yes, that was. It was just like enough, like with the chili and the Fritos and the cheese and everything. And for all of you who wants the fire cookie, forget the cookie. You eat one of those, you'll just get the fire. But it's like
it's true.
but it's so good. I mean, as I said, that's my Achilles heel because I love like zesty and spicy stuff. It wasn't overly spicy, but it did have like a little bit of a kick. But I like that. It was really good.
Yeah, and Jason Miller here says if it continues that way, it's going to be like this year or last year. They're going to lose a lot of people, and people are not going to want to go to that event. Something has to change. And you're talking about Disney stuff. Yeah, I would agree, Jason. They're going to have to really take a look at what Universal's doing and sort of step their game up. Because if this is the thing now, because Universal, they've been doing the HHN thing. They've been very successful. But now they're dipping into other stuff now. Now they're doing the FanFest thing during the spring. A lot more of these events are going to be happening. If they're going to compete with Universal, they're going to have to do better.
Because now they have competition in that realm. See, before Disney was just basically doing the after hours event. So it's like, okay, people are buying tickets. Let's just rely on our laurels. Let's just do what we know what works best. But now that they actually have competition in that realm, yeah, now they're going to have to definitely step up their game because even to this year with Star Wars Night, the only night that was completely sold out was May 4th. They were still trying to give tickets away that people weren't even taking them.
Well, and here's the thing too. So, okay, like I said, right, I'm going to FanFest on Friday, right? And there is a huge noticeable price difference. Yes, you can get the express pass or whatever, but the base price for the ticket, huge difference. You're going from $150 or so for paying for a Disney After Dark ticket, right?
Mhm.
Going to what, like $75 base ticket for Universal Fan Fest? I'm in. Like, that is such a good deal. You know, even right now, Cordy, I'm seeing online. I don't know if you experience this, but I'm seeing online right now that you don't even really need the Express right now. I mean, if you have it, you go through everything like what OG and George did. But I'm seeing on Twitter and everything that people are like, yeah, you don't really need it. Like, the lines aren't unbearably long.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because this Fan Fest seems to be really popping off, but yet the wait times aren't super long. So that's very interesting. Like, do you think like this is still kind of like a more of a word of mouth thing going on, even though it is being advertised with Fan Fest?
Yeah, I think you know, it's. I felt like they were very organized too. Like, I probably waited the longest in the Star Trek queue because you kind of wait in that room, right? There's like you go in and then you wait in that room. That's how it felt with the Quiet Place too when we were when it was HHN. But it felt very organized as far as like, okay, this group, right? They moved us along nicely there in Dungeons and Dragons. And I think because too they have so much going on. Like, I didn't even get to go to Harry Potter, you know, Hogwarts, right?
Wow.
So I missed that completely. But it just felt like, you know, and you're so spread out. There was so much to do that I think that helped kind of traffic too.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's kind of like everybody can go, they just kind of disperse and go do their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So I want to ask more.
I will say Universal just in general, because I've even noticed this done in Universal Orlando when it comes time for their operations, just with their rides. Like when I got in line for the Incredible Hulk, I swear these team members, they had to work like for NASCAR in their previous life, because literally they get people on, they lock them in, boom, like it literally is like 10 seconds. As soon as you're in the seat, boom, you're out of the station going through the tunnel. Like, they don't waste no time. And I feel like Universal is really good with that kind of training with the team members. Because even when we were down in Hill Valley, we all waited in line to get our picture taken with Einstein. And that line looked like it was like 2 hours long, but it only took us like 35 minutes, maybe max, if even that. That was the longest line we actually waited in. So, but which for anyone who's going to FanFest and can have the opportunity to get your picture taken with Einstein, it's a phenomenal like moment just to have like the dog sitting in the DeLorean and get your picture taken. It's awesome. The only thing operational wise when it comes time for the line, and I said this before on many discussions of this, but not everyone sees every show, as OG always says, but only little kerfluffle that I had with the lines was when Abby really wanted to meet Yoshi. Like, that's like one of the top things she wanted to do. So we went into Super Nintendo World to meet Yoshi, and they pack everyone in this small little line, this queue space, and then once it fills up, they cut it off. And you have to basically wait, and then it fills up, they, you know, cut it off, and it's like, okay, fine. So we thought we'd wait a run, but they asked us that we had to move because it's a fire code that you can't block the walking path. And yes, there I go with the walking path. If everyone you don't know, I was born and raised on the East Coast. I know you West Coasters don't use walking path, but I do.
Well, we all know you're from PA the way you say dog.
But so we decided we moved and everything, and you know, we were compliant to that. But then all people were piling up in that area, and I thought, I'm confused. We were here first. Now we're going to be last in line. Why is people lining up? They shouldn't be here if it's a fire code. So I went to a team member and I asked her. She was very polite. And I asked her and I said, I thought we weren't supposed to stand here. So can we? And she said, technically, you're not supposed to. She said, but after so many times of asking, you can only ask so much. And I'm like, but that is your job. It is a fire code. It's not what the customer wants. It's to keep everybody safe.
Right.
And tell them move. You know, and it's like, and to me, like, to give an answer like that, I'm like, okay, I mean that's not how I was trained in customer service, but again, it's small little hiccup, but we ended up meeting Yoshi. We got our picture. It was a fun experience, but I think it was the location of where they had Yoshi because he was such a brand new character. I think if they would have placed him in another area, it probably would have been better, but there's always room for improvement. You're not going to have nothing perfect, but for the most part, everything that FanFest has given us, I'm very much impressed and satisfied with.
Yeah, and speaking of like Universal like hyping everybody up, like the vibes, Yoshi's like the king of vibes. He comes out and he just like he's hyping everybody up and everyone's cheering his name. It's really cool.
Well, I so actually speaking of Yoshi, it's funny we bring that up because Kaylee with 2 E's, she was in the chat earlier, but she wanted to ask Cordy, did you get to get a picture or see Yoshi?
I didn't.
No.
I didn't want to leave Hill Valley. I wanted to just stay there all night, and I almost did.
I feel you on that. It's hard. It's really tough. And it's so cool too, Cordy, the way they set it up with the tram. You get in there and they're playing Huey Lewis in the new with the Back in Time song. They're blasting that. You got Doc in there telling you like you can't do this, you can't do this. And you get down there, it's like all 1950s. It's so immersive and fun. You could spend hours down there. You really can.
The performers that they got really like they captured the essence of Michael J. Fox, of Christopher Lloyd, of Leah Thompson, Thomas F. Wilson. Like they were these characters. So it's like, how can you just pick anybody to portray them? But it's like they hit it spot on for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. Cordy, do Nintendo World first. Next trip, all right. The first one, you rush over there, go see Yoshi, and then game. Was it like a little game thing or something to like get the other 2 Yoshis, right?
Well, like egg hunt, right? Like there's a little scavenger hunt, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's is it pink Yoshi, and is there a blue Yoshi, George? Do you know?
Yes.
Yep.
Blue and pink.
Yep.
Okay, blue, yeah, see, green, blue, and pink. Get all the Yoshis. Cordy.
But here's the thing: what theme park conductor told me is when you do the egg hunt, you could only see one or the other, blue or pink. You could see green, but you could only pick one or the other. You can't see all 3, unfortunately.
Now, GV559 says, don't forget Einstein. I have to say, I was really, really impressed with those dogs.
Yeah.
They sat there like good boys, and they let everyone walk up and take a picture of them, and they were just so good. They didn't cause any issues or no fussiness. Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I have to add to that. And when OG says dogs, as in plural, is obviously you can't have the same dog sitting at the same time. So they swap out the dogs. But how they do it, it's very creative. It's very creative that they bring out Einstein from the past, and then they bring out the future Einstein of how he looks. So I thought that was like really cool how they did that.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Jesse Adventure here says, do you think Universal will ever do a theme park show of Back to the Future, the musical? All they would have to do is cut a couple songs that are not needed. I mean, it's possible. It's very, very possible. That Universal Park over in UK, it's rumored that they're going to do a Hill Valley with like a Back to the Future attraction. I hope they're going all in on Back to the Future, whether it's shows, attractions. This is such an iconic Universal franchise, and it deserves to have a presence in every Universal theme park. So yeah, I'm down for it, Jesse. Any way they want to bring Back to the Future back, I'm up for it. And this event has proven to them how viable this franchise is. So
what I would love to see as a musical is Webba the musical with the #1 hit song, These Tights Split.
There you go. That works.
Is that going to feature the Italiano?
Oh, of course. I'm making a special appearance.
There is. Chris Lucas says they needed a bar down in Hill Valley because people weren't spending any money down there, and they were there for hours. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, they had like a little cart, a little kiosk. You could buy like a Monster Energy drink or a Coke and like chips, I think.
Yes.
But
which I will say was very expensive. Like just for like 2 bags of chips and a I think it was a Coke, it was like over $10.
Now, okay, so the food, right? Because it's an after dark event, right? Were you guys, Cordy? You're a pass holder, correct?
Yes.
So were you guys able, or were you guys able to use a pass holder discount for FanFest or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah, no, you could use it. The only thing that it doesn't work on is alcohol, which is obviously nowhere gives you the discount on that. But it was it was readily usable, and I used it quite a bit actually. So
So speaking of food, did you guys notice? I didn't get the tabs. I didn't do the lanyard thing because I didn't find it was a good value. Because it was like you had what was like I think two entrees or however they named it, but they told you what you could get. Like you can get 2 of these, 2 entrees, and then like 4 kind of desserts or beverages. But they broke it up into what you could get. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like spend these tabs on whatever you want.
Okay, so was that only was that only good for like specific locations then?
Yeah, I think it was just, I believe so. I didn't dig into it too much. I saw that they had the signs up when we were waiting to go in, right before they like let us loose. So they had like the signs up, and that's what they displayed. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. It was like $65 too.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like if you did like the George, what is it called, the Sip and Savior pass thing or whatever at DCA? Is it kind of like that where you get like little things along the way?
Yeah. But like I said, that you didn't get the freedom to like pick whatever you wanted from, even if it's from specific locations. That's fine. I understand that.
Right.
But it was very specific as to you can get 2 meals, and then the other 4 you would use for like the cupcake, right? Which I wanted to get that chopper cupcake. I have to get that next time.
Yes. I actually might try that. Well, maybe not the package you're talking about, but maybe I'll try the desserts while I'm down there, because I'm leaving work, coming home real quick, and then going up to LA to Universal because I'm going to hit that really bad traffic going there. So I'm probably going to want like a little something while I'm up there, So if you guys have any recommendations on any food or desserts or something, let me know. I'll try it out. Absolutely.
Cool. Now, George, you're going back on the 15th. Are you going to do that like lanyard thing? Are you going to try that, or are you just going to do your own?
I might do my own thing, but if they have the lanyard, I maybe see like Cordy. How much was that?
I believe it was 65. But I mean, imagine you might get the discount. I wish I would have dug in a little more to see the details, but
okay, I might consider doing it. Seeing it. If not, then we'll just kind of like do our own thing. But definitely going to try some of the food offerings, because that's literally the last thing that I didn't get to. Abby or I got the experience with FanFest, and that would kind of cover the whole circle for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And traffic. Do you even helicopter, bro? You don't have a helicopter, Mr. Webba?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh man.
So I have to bring this up really quick. I know this is like off topic, but on topic. But when Abby and I went to Grinchmas, which we did meet Max, that was and again another phenomenal experience. After we went to Grinchmas, I went over to OG's house, and he has these his 2 little dogs, and his one dog in particular, Mickey. He was like so excited and like real feisty and everything, like to see us. He was like and we're thinking like, why is he like all over us? Well, he was actually smelling Max on us. And he was like, what is that smell? Like, what is that? I just had to bring that up because that was so funny.
That was really cute. Yeah, Mickey is a pretty rowdy guy for a Shih Tzu. He's pretty rowdy, but he was extra rowdy that day. I mean, he was all over you guys. Yeah, he was definitely smelling Max, 100%. And I like the fact though that Universal uses real dogs, and that goes. And I think it was Alan Smithy who said it in the chat. It's their studio stuff. They have studio dogs that they can utilize for this stuff. That's why it's so cool how they're utilizing all elements of their whole operation with this. I just love it. I absolutely love it. Chris Lucas here says FanFest only $50 for APs if you're already in the park on FanFest night. Yeah, we actually did that. George and I were at the park on Friday, and we were like, you know what? Let's do it, right? Let's do it. $50. We dropped it. We did it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So see, that was the thing, like not knowing beforehand, because I got the pass, but now when I'm kind of looking at it now, maybe the pass especially for a pass holder, maybe that's not the way to go. What do you guys think? Like, from what?
Well, here's the thing: we would have actually never known about that. It was actually Theme Park Wizard that told us about it, and again, we weren't really thinking too much of it. And then when we were there, we were like, well, we should really like utilize it. And after we did, and it was so simple because they still had a bunch of tickets open. And I thought, man, if I only would have known that, which we went opening weekend, so it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, but I was like, dang, I could have saved like $25. You know? But then we also got the Express, because again, we didn't know really what to expect. You know, if we even had to stand in a queue for Back to the Future. It's those BTS vibes like of going to Disney, because you're either standing in a virtual queue, you're standing in a holding cell, you're standing in like a God knows what else. It's like just to do something. And it's like, so you don't really expect.
Sorry, guys.
You don't really know like what to expect. And then when you're at Universal, you're like, oh yeah, we don't need to do all that stuff, you know. But it's like, it was still nice to utilize the Express Pass, but you know, certain things, you know, we really didn't need it.
Yeah, no, we really didn't. It was a very easy experience, you know, all the way around. So yeah, hopefully Disney takes some notes and kind of adopts some of that Universal model.
Yes.
You know, go ahead, Webba.
So guys, I want to ask you all, right? So Cordy. So again, 90s night, right? Me and I think George and Abby were doing something. I think you guys were at like the Max, the power line thing. And I think me, OG, and Mrs. Webba, we went by Space Mountain, right? And then there was like this little shop, like merchandise. Because I want to talk about merchandise, all right? Because someone in the chat mentioned it earlier. Merch, right? I'm not sure if you're a big merchandise person, Corey. I'm not really. I like to look, not really buy much stuff, but I just like to look at things, right? However, what is up with Disney, right? At these damn events, not having enough freaking merchandise in these places, in this freaking event. It's like, come on, like everybody's buying a bunch of stuff, right? I remember back at Star Wars night, there was a huge line out the damn store to buy merch. And you're telling me you're not going to have enough merch for people on this event? Like, what is up with that? I don't understand that. Not only that, but the merch too is like, some of it is okay, some of it's, you know, I mean, I don't know, it's not really that impressive. The merch for Universal for FanFest looks dope. It looks super cool. So I want to know what's your take on the merchandise aspect of these After Dark events.
I'm not big on the merch per se. If this background wasn't here, you'd see a bunch of popcorn buckets. So besides the sippers and popcorn buckets, but like the t-shirts and things like that, nothing's really grabbed my attention. And I'm not a jewelry person, so I know they have the whole like trunk show, right? The Chris Lou. But people that are into it, that's exactly what they said. They go there and they're already out. You can only have limit of one pin, but you know, that doesn't make sense. And I'm guessing they do an allotment per night because miraculously, right? They'll run out Tuesday, but Thursday they have merch again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what? It's just frustrating because again, it's a lack of quality that is being downgraded in these events, right? And people are paying a lot of money for this, okay? And now you're not going to have enough merch for people to buy. Like, OG, we walked in there and it was just empty. It was an empty room. There's a bunch of tables in there. We were like, OG, you're like, where's all the merch at?
Yeah, it looked like I went into like into a Forever 21 right now, where you walk in, there's like one shirt on the wall because they're trying to get rid of it. They're like liquidating, you know. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
And it's frustrating for the people that like, because you know, I try to think like or when we go, I'm like, oh, I can see this next time because I have a pass, right? Like there's always that like, oh, or I know I'm going again another night. But there's so many people that this is it, right? They're like, this might be the only time that they're going to Disneyland because they're like, okay, I'm putting everything towards this After Dark event and they're just going to go for it. And then, you know.
Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, and Roto Commish says Disney's handcuffing themselves. They really are, because that's the frustrating thing, I think, is that they have so much potential, like untapped potential, and they're like sleeping on it. You know, it's like, come on.
Yes, and that's the frustrating thing, right? Is us as fans, we're so critical because we know they can do better, right?
Yeah.
Like Cordy, here's the thing. I'm not opposed at all to these After Dark events. Like, I think the idea is really good. However, the execution has not been good. That's the problem, right? And if they can just get to the level where Universal's at for these After Dark events, then yeah, charge what you charge. But then just remember still your competitor is still charging less. That's the thing, right? So, there's a lot to be said with these events, and I hate that Disney has been again taking away stuff from these events. Or even just entertainment and entertainment in general, right, across the park. And you can't really do your guests like that. It's not cool. So
I think where Disney can start, a good start would be for us Magic Key holders. Let us get a little bit of a discount off of tickets. Give us something as to why we have a Magic Key in the first place. Not a comfy chair at the Magic Key Terrace. Like, no, I don't like. That's cool, but I mean, like, give me something that's really going to benefit.
Yeah. No, well said. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's wild. Now, Living Dead Mom, I wanted to bring this up because she's saying the merchandise from FanFest was lackluster, in my opinion.
Really?
Now, George, I didn't buy any FanFest stuff, but you did. Mm-hmm. Were you pretty okay with the merch selection, or were you kind of underwhelmed?
So the only thing that I ended up buying was a FanFest jacket, because again, we weren't planning on staying for FanFest, and now that I'm adapting to California and California weather, that the temperature dropped like 30 degrees from the daytime, and I was freezing my ass off. So like I had like nothing with me, so I was like, okay, I need a jacket. And I told OG, I was like, you know what? I wanted something that said FanFest on it anyway. We went to 2 stores that had nothing. They had no FanFest merch whatsoever. And then when we went down to the bottom lot where Transformers is, that little store, that's where they had the merch. That's the only store that had it, and they only had a few jackets left, and OG found the one that was in my size, which is very rare because every time I go into a store, they have every size but the size that I need.
Yeah, George was like, I can't get it. I'm like, okay, I'm tall. I got you, bro. And it was like in the very, very back, though, Yeah. And it had one left, so you lucked out.
But the rest of the merch looked okay. It wasn't like nothing like I was like, oh, I really have to get this. However, a lot of people went for the Back to the Future hoodies or jackets, I believe. They were sold out, I think, from like the first couple of days of FanFest. I don't even know if they even got any more stock back, but a lot of people were looking for them. And as of right now, I don't know, but they were completely sold out.
Yeah, I think Wizard, because I was watching Wizards live the other day, and he asked a team member if the hoodie or whatever is out, it's pretty much out. So that's what he was told by one of the team members. Like, if they're out, they're out. That's it. So it's kind of scary because if you still want some of that merch, then you probably won't get one. I hope that's something. But guys, so before we head out though, Cordy, I want to ask you one more question about Disneyland for DCA in particular, Oogie Boogie event, right? So again, it's an After Dark event, kind of, right? But it's kind of the same theme a little bit year after year. Do you think people are getting tired of the kind of sameness of Oogie Boogie Bash, or do you think the appeal is still there and that they don't need to change anything?
I definitely have heard people say that they're not going this year, and some people, same thing, didn't go last year because, we got a couple of different characters, but is that enough to bring, to keep people going. And the parade, I mean, I love Oogie Boogie, like the vibe there. It's just so much fun, right? Like in the parade, even though it's the same one, but it's like, it's so much fun. And then Villains Grove is amazing, of course. But yeah, I Hades was awesome. I will say Hades was really awesome.
That's how they need to utilize him. If they were to bring him into Villains Land at Magic Kingdom, that's the Hades that we need, not the cookie cutter Hades that has the big cotton candy poof on top of his head. You need like the actual real Hades.
Because you want that, like, because he was like interacting with people, and that was pretty cool. So I think at this point that Oogie Boogie might be the one that still draws the people in out of all of them, at least this year.
I agree with Cordy. It feels like Oogie Boogie for me is kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like it does have that repetitiveness to it, but it still has that go-to factor. As Cordy said, it gives off that vibe that Disney can give off for Halloween. It's not HHN level, but again, Disney can only go so far when it comes to that. But I feel like it's still a really good vibe. And especially since Abby hasn't been to Oogie Boogie yet. So for her to see our first experience with that. And I do hope, we get a couple more good villains. I love the interaction with Madame Mim. I think she was like one of the top villains for me, like with the going of the back and forth with guests. I do agree with you, Cordy. Hades, phenomenal costume of how they had the fire hair like go from blue, but then it turns like orangish red when you mentioned the name Hercules. It was like it was really cool. Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
That was weird.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing too. I got to give Disney credit. I got to give them credit for Madame Mim, because it's so easy for Disney to sort of get into this thing with like the big IP, right? But Sword in the Stone ain't exactly hot right now. So I like the idea that they were willing to sort of feature an IP that not everyone is really into right now. It's kind of like an older thing. So that was pretty cool. I like that. And you're right, George. She was the best part.
The performer they got was like spot on, like down to her voice.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. And Roto Kamish, he's going for the first time this year.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Tickets go on sale in June.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And nothing screams Halloween more than the sweltering heat of June.
Yeah, there we go. Right? There we go. Chris Lucas, Oogie Boogie Bash gets the families and kids in. Magic Key locals might be tired of it, but for the regulars and even DVC, yeah, maybe the normies are still on board with the Boogie Bash. Maybe it's kind of like, because we're more of like the diehards. Maybe we're kind of bored, but maybe the soccer mom normie crowd is still on board. I don't know.
Well, you brought that up plenty of times about there's always events happening because they need to keep people like us, like Cordy, Bob, Casual, coming back to the park over and over because we're so close to the park and we go a lot that there's always something new to be seen, right? So they always have events happening. So, yeah.
We'll see. Villains Grove, Living Dead Mom is absolutely amazing. That is like a work of art. You walk in, and the way they set that whole thing up is absolutely chef's kiss.
It's
hopefully,
speaking of which, I just got reminded with Living Dead Mom, the photo of the Bride of Frankenstein. Here's a little piece of a fun film fact that I just learned not too long ago. The actress that plays the bride in The Bride of Frankenstein played Nana Mary in Mary Poppins.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, George.
I just saw that video. That's crazy.
Wow. That's cool.
Wild. That's wild. George has all this information stored away. Like we did a show like a year ago with our buddy Jay Shear, and he just randomly brings up the first and last name of the editor of Jaws. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
George, how do you know that? Like, how do you even know that? And CL, I completely agree. It is absolute magic. I love it. I really, really love it. And this is what I really want to see too for Villains Land. If they can take this sort of concept with the projections and stuff, like the shadows, every night at Villains Land in Magic Kingdom. Like you walk in and you see the hyena shadows on the walls and the rocks and just really go all out. Oh, I would love that. Absolutely love that. Jesse Adventure, I wish they could bring back the Hopper from It's Tough to Be a Bug and use him for Oogie Boogie. That's a great idea.
Dude, Hopper is one of my favorite villains, dude. Because Hopper, he's really like a real life person. You know, he thinks, the way he talks, dude. He's my favorite part in A Bug's Life. He is fantastic. Like I would love to see another iteration of him. Well, as he was, but like now, right, with current tech or character meet and greet, he was fantastic. Great villain.
Yeah, he is an amazing animatronic, and that's the thing too. With Disney now, we're gonna have an animatronic Walt coming. He's moving in very, very soon, July 17th. He's moving in, but they have to. It's risky though. Like we talked about a lot here on the channel, where it's like they have to hit a home run with that Walt. Yeah. Like we need like next gen animatronic, have it look exactly like him, because man, if you miss the mark on Walt Disney, how? I don't know. I mean, that's gonna be rough, but we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic with that one. So, you know, it's just I'm kind of nervous too, though. It's just, but it's gonna be crazy too, like surreal to kind of sit there and have Walt standing there with his voice. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they can knock it out of the park, this could be an emotional experience, I think, for a lot of fans.
This is going to be the most that we're going to see that many people fill up that theater at once.
Yes. Oh yeah,
this is going to be history in the making. And Disney also confirmed that they're bringing One Man's Dream over to the West Coast here, and I guess have a variation of it. I don't know if it's going to be the exact one that they had in Hollywood Studios, but they're going to incorporate the One Man's Dream little short film along with. I guess Walt is supposed to do like a 2-minute speech.
Awesome. So we got some stuff to look forward to. The 70th is kicking off very, very soon. Let the party begin. Let's do this. They have
all the decorations up pretty much already. People are starting to like post like the banners and the signage out front and everything. So hopefully they got the correct number on it. You know,
I know, right? Hey, you never know. You never know.
Who's going?
We'll be there opening weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll be with you guys on. Is it Saturday?
The 17th. Yeah, the 17th.
Yeah, 17th. Yeah, so I'll be with you guys on the 17th. Yeah, George. Hopefully they put it 7-0 and not at 0-7.
Yeah,
you know,
we'll see. So. You never know, though. You never know. But are we going to have a round 2 at Olga's Cantina? We gotta continue the '90s night party.
That's hilarious.
Good times.
But everybody, this was a fantastic discussion. It was so awesome having Cordy in California back here.
Yes.
B5. Loved having you on. Thank you so much. But before we go, Cordy, any last final thoughts about these events or whatnot? What do you think?
Keep hope alive. I'm rooting for Disney to bring it back. I just hope they hear us, and they got my money if they do it.
100%. Absolutely. And Cordy, where can everybody find you on YouTube and all that good stuff? So everyone can head over there, subscribe to you, and also your Park Streamers stream with Bob and Casual, all that good stuff.
Oh gosh. So yeah, you can find me. I'm Cordy in California on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. And then Park Streamers Hangout, PSH. with my pals, Theme Park Casual and Berry Place 28. And just a little plug for the Chalk Walk. It's coming up, that's August 3rd. But, if you're so inclined to donate, we've got some great raffle prizes. We actually just added one. We're going to do a drawing on Friday night. But it's if you donate $100, for every $100 you donate, you're in a raffle for a Park Hopper ticket.
Oh, there we go. Awesome stuff. And Cordy, because you are a West Coaster, we always, like I said,
Woke up looking for the broccoli.
there we go. It's customary here. We always play the West Coast music. Yes, absolutely. But go ahead, Webba. You're the host today. You take it over, brother.
Of course. So Cordy, thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute blast. I'd love to have you on again. George, the Dizzy Italiano, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can everybody find you at home on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. And Chris Lucas, we are going to do a big Abu Dhabi video tomorrow. We're going to break that down. Look forward to all 2.5 hours of our speculation on that one. It's coming. It is absolutely coming. And Trey Porter, thank you for joining us, brother. We do appreciate you. And CL, I completely agree. We love all the West Coast songs.
Hi, Mustard on the beat.
We got them all here on OG55. We got them all. But
speaking of OG55, sir, thank you so much for joining on today. Where can everybody find you at home on social media? Orange Grove 55.
55. You can find me here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55, and you can find me on X, Orange Grove 55.
Yeah. Back up
there we go. Thank you, Webba.
Absolutely. Well, everybody at home, the OG fam, Cordy's Dreamers, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the live, and we will see you next time. See you later.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.
Perfect.